Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast. They can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on uh, our website, which is blainesworld.net, and you can get more information there as well. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my two guests today, and they are Marc Cameron and Cory Boughton. And Marc already read my mind. Cory can give everybody a big wave also, and that's Cory. And I'd like to thank you both for joining me to talk about what I think is a very exciting thing you guys are both involved in. And rather than me talk about it, Marc, I'll turn to you at first a little bit and talk about the concept that you guys are both involved in.
Well, we both are members of the Autumn Players, which is a readers theater group out of ACT, been around for a long time. And we were looking at things and kind of realized it was maybe time to offer some of our members, and we have a large membership, opportunities to learn how to audition best for Readers Theater, and especially because we do blind auditions, so somebody in their 60s or 70s could be reading a part of a 20-year-old. We rehearse during the day, performances are daytime, so it's mostly people that aren't working a full-time job. I would say a little bit towards the senior. I just turned 69, so I can identify as a senior. And so we came up with four teachers: Ellen Pappas, Jim Reed, Cory Boughton, and myself, Marc Cameron, to approach from a couple of different angles how to help not only members of the Autumn Players, but any seniors or any people out there that want to work on Readers Theater auditions. And then they could use the tools in the education we are offering them in any way to audition or even in public speaking. So I think it's a comprehensive and a great thing that ACT is supporting Autumn Players in doing.
I was going to ask you, Marc, what's interesting about what you're doing is the fact that even though you geared it to Reader's Theater, more and more regular shows are now doing video auditions or blind auditions. It used to be that was unheard of, but now almost everybody seems to be having that as an option. So this could help performers, regular performers as well, not just for people who want to be in Reader's Theater. Is that true?
Yeah. And a lot of theaters are also doing Readers Theater as a way to fundraise as well.
Okay, which is incredible. Like you said, it used to be that just one or two locally, but they almost all are doing Reader's Theater. And so I'll turn to this to Cory because you don't quite meet Marc's demographics, I guess. In other words, that over a certain age, you're a little bit younger than that. But talk about your experience with Reader's Theater. Are you enjoying it, or are you doing a lot of it?
Yeah, I've been involved for the past few seasons pretty heavily. Bernie Hauserman was kind of the one of the founders of the Autumn Players for Asheville Community Theater, and I got to work with him about 20 years ago at Asheville Community Theater. He directed me in a show, so I was familiar with the concept of it. That knew the whole company and how it kind of ran, and had been away from Asheville for many years, working and living in New York and some other places around the country, and moved back several years ago and didn't even get involved with ACT until about a year or two ago. But there were still some people that I knew from the theater 20 years ago that were still involved, and saw some familiar names and decided to audition and kind of, get myself involved with them again. So it's been a good thing the past few years. I've been involved with a bunch of shows, got to co-direct last year, and, hopefully this season will be directing, teaching a little bit as well. So.
I remember when I saw your name, I was really pleasantly surprised because, again, I've seen you at North Carolina Stage, I've seen you elsewhere. So you've
Mhm.
done stuff where you've gotten paid, paid hopefully fairly well. And all of a sudden now you're doing this. Regis Theater, for the most part, I assume is not a paid gig. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So who do you see, Cory, Regis Theater should be aimed at? Who should be interested in it?
People who love theater. I think any actor, for me, it was as somebody who just loves theater in general. there might not be enough opportunities to work on the plays you want to do. I focus heavily on straight plays, non-musicals, and a lot of theaters have to focus heavily on musicals to make their seasons. So there's whole seasons sometimes where I can't be involved with a theater company because I'm probably not going to get a part that has a baritone role and has a lot of dance steps against some of these people that do that tons, and work on that and practice that continually. I don't have those skills really anymore. So I don't even really even go up against those kids doing that. And so, yeah, when there's opportunities like this, good scripts in readers theater, sometimes it's just nice to be a part of a good script and hang out with some older actors and some people that just enjoy reading plays and reading theater and are involved that way and putting on something that only takes a couple of weeks. It's not a massive commitment. It's not a 2-month commitment like a contract in a professional show. It's 3 weeks. That's kind of nice to do too. So yeah, it kind of fits the bill for me, the way with my job and my career work. I can kind of do a few afternoon rehearsals once in a while and some afternoons on weekends. That works for my schedule. So I'm able to be a part of it.
And Cory, you mentioned the kind of plays that were involved, but I'm thinking out loud, Mark. Are there ever, in Reader's Theater, are there ever musicals involved?
I don't think so. I don't think they do
Mark,
musicals
are you
with
familiar with it? So
Yeah.
that primarily not. So who is then for people who are interested in Reader's Theater, is this open? I guess nice thing, it's open to just about anybody, even if they've never acted before.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
There's definitely people that are involved that, there's people that are pretty talented readers and people that have done this before. So they might not get a role their first time coming to an audition, but it happens. There's people that have come lots of times and might not even be looking for a larger role. They might be more comfortable with taking a smaller role and really enjoy just being part of that process, only having a few lines or one scene or two scenes in a whole play. But that's a really good way for them to get involved with the feeling of like a performance. Maybe they've read before or they've done things like that, or maybe even took a theater class in college, but they've never actually been part of a performance before and actually been backstage for 20 minutes, hearing the crowd come in and preparing for that and walking out under the lights and those sorts of things, which can be a different kind of experience.
And Mark, you mentioned the idea that the nice thing about this is you use, or at least you folks are using blind auditions. And what do you mean by blind auditions, Mark?
Well, Autumn Players tends, it's not 100%, but it tends to be people that are available during the daytime. So it is for probably 60% probably of our membership, older people, semi-retired or retired, or a very flexible schedule, daytime rehearsals and daytime performances. And so that group may not have the young people that you would normally have in those ingenue roles or the kid roles or a teenager role. So, I mean, they did Reader's Theater recently with a whole bunch of older actors, and they did Charlotte's Web, which is, full of kids. So it can be done.
Too. It was a hit.
Yeah, it was a big hit. So it can be done. Reader's Theater is just kind of a specialty. And Autumn Players is afternoons and daytime rehearsals. The Reader's Theater that I work with, artisan players at the Weaverville Center, we may do evening rehearsals and evening or matinee performances. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there. I just think Autumn's players and their blind auditions understand somebody 60 might do a role that's 20. So what?
You mentioned the rehearsals. Are they ever done via Zoom?
I think during COVID times, or if there was a problem at the facility, you could easily do it. It's a lot easier Zoom because there's minimal blocking and minimal staging. Some directors like to put the movement in, like Ellen Pappas. You're up and on your feet and you're moving and you're coming in and out. Other people just like to go by the book and put that script on the readers on the music stand and look forward. So it's a variety of different techniques.
And to give Ellen a compliment, I remember I once had kind of this negative impression of Reader's Theater, and Ellen sort of changed that because one, not only does she do blocking, but I've seen her use costumes as well. So it's almost like a full production. And what's interesting about it, though, Cory, and I know you're moving into directing aspect as well. So that's up to the director how he or she wants to run the show.
Yeah, As far as I know, they do give you the director the freedom to go all the way from almost a traditional, very, very rigid form of readers theater all the way to semi-staged with costumes and props and things like that.
How do you typically handle it?
I don't know how I'm going to handle it quite yet. I think in some cases it might depend on the show. Like the one where I'm in right now, I'm in the current show that's coming up next. And it started out, we were probably going to do it very, very traditionally. And through just the development of looking at the script and how certain scenes are played out and how long certain people are not seen on a stage, it seemed more reasonable to have more motion, have people coming and going through entrance and exits. But we might not have found that until that first rehearsal or second rehearsal and been like, wow, this feels awkward. Maybe we should change something here. And that's, so sometimes it really does maybe depend on the script. I think certain scripts work better traditionally, and some it's like it's a little too confusing if we're just staring at six people kind of talking straight out. Things are in the nuance. Things are in, this little piece of paper that gets slipped between two people and that gets lost in that. And so maybe we should stage that. Maybe we should put a little prop in and move that letter around. Like you kind of have to make those decisions as you kind of work it through in rehearsals. But, I think as long as the director is open to evolving a little bit and not being 100% like it has to be this way, I think they're going to be able to make the production stronger in some aspect, even over those 6 short rehearsals or whatever.
And what show is that you said you're currently going to be in? What is that?
The Chalk Garden is the one we're doing right now.
Okay, and when is that?
That opens up the last weekend of January. So last few
okay.
days of January, beginning of February.
So it's coming up in the near future.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come back to that. And Mark, the same thing I'll ask you in terms of shows. So I've seen you write, you were in Red. Was that correct? Did I see you?
Yeah, that was a few years ago.
Okay.
I did it 4 times at 4 different places.
But I mean, that was just an incredible performance as opposed to, and that was not a Reader's Theater, even though I guess it could have been, but you did that. That was a straight theater when you did it.
I did it both ways. I did it at the
did you?
Weaverville Center with a young man, and we did it as Reader's Theater. It was a little less effective, obviously, because that play demands you to stand up and do your thing. But it can be done as a Reader's Theater piece as well. My point is, and I've done 6 or 7 of them in various places, probably 5 at the Weaverville Center. But we rehearse. I always say it's an enhanced Reader's Theater because I think people think we're just getting up and reading,
Right.
and that couldn't be farther from the truth. You're doing as much rehearsing as you can, as much character development as you can, because all we have is the voice and your understanding of the words on the page as the actor, and then you have the director to kind of mold it. So the audience depends on that vocal ability, those vocal dynamics. They need to hear the text and the subtext underneath. They need to know when you're lying. They need to hear that. And that becomes rich Reader's Theater. If you were going to call it Reader's Theater and you only read it, I would call it book reading or script reading. And that doesn't prove, people aren't going to pay for that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the very first Reader's Theater you ever did, Mark? Or one of the first?
I don't know. I can't remember which. The first one I did here was, I think, for Autumn Players, or it might have been at Weaverville. I think I did, oh God, you would put me on the spot. When you've done 30, 35 years of theater, you forget, especially at 69.
It's funny you said that. So I won't put you on the spot. I won't put Cory.
I directed Rumors and a couple others.
Okay. I won't put Cory on the spot either. But let me just jump right into then, Cory, the thing that you and Mark are doing, which is very exciting. You're actually part of a course then, I guess you would call it, that helps guide people through the process of Reader's Theater.
Well, yeah, they decided to kind of offer some adult acting workshop classes. That's kind of what these are, more than anything. They offer a very, very good audition workshop for adults that are prepping to audition for the main stage musicals and things like that. And they've had really big success with those classes and had a lot of adults say, man, is there anything else you offer? anything else we could come do? Like, we love to be part of shows, but then if you don't get into a show, what else is there for us to do? Like, and people want to stay involved and they want to work on their stuff and they want to work scripts and they want to, do more readers theater stuff and more of like the reading place for pleasure stuff that they do like once a month. Like, people are just, begging for more almost from the people that do this. And so yeah, this kind of came across to, we're going to try doing some adult classes, see if this is something that, gives people a little more of an opportunity to hone their techniques, spend time learning with some people that they're familiar with or that they've seen in shows before. They've seen the performance level and they could maybe, be like, yeah, I could learn something from that person. Or I like the way that person directs. I've seen several of their shows. I'm going to go take her class, or whatever it is.
So you mentioned you're now part of this team. I guess Mark had mentioned that people in the team. You're one of the 4 people now teaching, I guess, 12-week course, 3-week segments, and your segment actually coming up starting
in March. Yeah, first week of March. Yeah, these are on
Okay.
Mondays, 10 to 1.
10 to 1. And so what are folks going to learn in that segment?
Well, in the course that I'm planning on teaching, it's really, we don't have much time in Reader's Theater. It really is like they have a 48-hour film festival, for like filmmaking within 2 days. It's Reader's Theater to me kind of reminds me.
Correct.
We lost you a little
like,
bit.
how fast can we make a decent show? We have like 3 weeks to do this. Let's do it. So you only have 6 rehearsals. So those rehearsal times become incredibly important. And what you do as an actor with the 3 weeks you have before you're performing a character, that's another thing too. Just even having that amount of time and being prepped to like, what do I do with this time? I've only got this much time to work on this. Those kinds of techniques, learning how to, for me, I mean, I did theater courses in college and stuff. You learn full on script analysis and text analysis, which it's a full college course level. You can't teach it all in one class, but you can pound out some really good ideas for people and things you can do with the text right on the page, things you can look for, things that the writer has left you as clues almost. And those kinds of things, how to find that, how to pull that from even an audition side. If you've got 3 pages and that's it, what do I do? I don't know anything about this story, but I have to audition these 3 pages. What do I do? That kind of technique. Then the second week, focusing more on the body and the voice, because those kinds of things really change our performance. If we go in stressed about our day or not warmed up bodily wise, you're going to have issues sitting on stage for 2 hours in character, or whatever. That performance is going to be hindered by you not prepping, you not taking the time to center yourself, you not taking the time to quiet the inner voice and do this little thing that might take you 5 minutes, but it's going to change how you're coming into that performance. Teaching those little things that some of us, there's people that have had careers, some of this might be like, God, I remember this, but maybe they haven't done it in 25 years, and they did it back when they were in New York, when they were younger. There's those kinds of things that it's just bringing back some of those things that we've all maybe learned, or that me in my career that I've found along the way have assisted me in professional gigs and in, theater productions I've done around the country. It's like those things that are tried and true to me.
And
then, third class, every class giving them some opportunity to work on something, whether they bring it to class or if they don't have anything, I'll give them stuff, sides, a scene, monologue, something, and see them work that over the 3 weeks, utilizing those new skills, kind of bringing those things to the table until the final week.
Quick question for you. In terms of, I've always wondered this, how many times do you have to read the script before you're ready to put it on stage? Like Mark was alluding to the fact that you can't just go there and pick up the script and read the whole thing right then.
Yeah, there are very, very trained professionals will swear up and down that they will read a script into the hundreds. If you're going to get paid tens of thousands of dollars to do a part or millions of dollars to do a part, I would hope you're reading it that much and you're that well versed in the story backwards and forwards. If you're not being paid, you're doing it for the love of it. You might read it 10 times. You might read it 20. I don't know. But you read it a bunch. You don't read it once, or you don't read it the day before you show up. It's something that you definitely you're working that script. You're letting those story plots, you're letting those lines, or why does he say it that way? Why does he come at him so quickly after he says that? He just jumps down his throat. Why? Let those kinds of those things mull in your brain. You can't just go over that once. That's just it'll not happen.
I would imagine, Mark, that this would also be an excellent course for somebody, voiceover is now very hot. Everybody wants to get into voiceover business. But this would also be a useful course if you're wanting to do some voiceover work. I imagine this would be helpful as well. Would you say so, Mark?
Yeah, if you shut the video off and just listen to it, yeah,
Right.
it's a great vocal exercise. I mean, when you do it on Zoom, sometimes I black out all the actors. I really don't want to see them because it's going to be different in person. And I just want to hear their voice. Are they giving me the dynamics? Am I getting the information they need to sell to me? Or are they overdoing it? Pull them back. Don't push. Don't push. I don't want to. Everybody says, I don't want to see you acting, but in Reader's Theater, I don't want to hear you acting. Don't overdo it. And we have people with no experience to people that are fully experienced. So um, we we want to bring as many people in to give them as many opportunities as possible. Because if you do it once and you do it 10 times, by the time you get to 10 or 11, you're going to get pretty darn good at it. You're going to understand the difference. And I'm hoping these classes, I hope people take all 4 of them, but you can just take mine. No, take Cory's and mine for
No,
sure.
so I
And
was going
Jim
to ask you
Reed's.
that. So it's nice. So they can just they can take all 4, as you said, but they can take just 3 courses with you, Mark. And your 3 courses will focus in on what? Your 3 classes.
Mine are going to be April 13th, Monday, the 20th and the 27th from 10 to 1. We'll take a quick little snack break or something. Mine are basically, I studied a lot of different places for many years. But one of the places I really enjoyed the most was when I studied at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, which unfortunately no longer exists. And you had great teachers, and it was, established by Milton Katselas and uh, just, wonderful teachers there, famous actors and not so famous actors. But one thing they had was a checklist. And they would say, look at this checklist. It's 15 very valuable things you can do to put yourself ahead of everybody else, because I can guarantee you not everybody's going to do these 15 things. So I'm happy to bring that checklist as a base and then find other ways for people to make their work authentic, to make their work their own. My Mark Cameron, how I did Red, is all about me relating to the material and how I interpreted it with clues in the script for characterization. So everybody really needs to try and make the work authentic, because if you all did it the same way, who would you pick? You'd have 5 people doing it the same way. I don't want that. I want to see some originality. I want to hear your heart. I want to hear your pain. I want to feel your pain. I want to know you're not telling me the truth. And that takes work.
You have me
That's
interested,
not.
Mark, in that if somebody wants to learn all 15 of this checklist, I'm interested in the concept, I'll have to take the course with you. But could give me an example of one of the items on that checklist. You got me interested.
Oh, and Cory related to this one too when I picked it up. But for me, it's number 7, which is be a real person at all expenses. Don't don't try and be that character. Try, because if you try too hard, I'm going to see you trying to be that character. Find a way to make it yours. I mean, I have my own hand gestures. I have ways of moving. I have my own intonations. Own it, make it authentic. And there's, a bunch of other things. Is again, another one is, how much value do you put on getting what you want? What is your objective? And how hot is that? Is that a 10 or is it a 5? And if you do everything at a 10, where are you going to go? It's
Yeah.
all too big.
Mhm.
Give me
And
a
I know,
4, give me a 3, give me a 4, give me a 9.
and let me ask this question of both of you, because I know Corey's moving into this area of directing. But Mark, right now in your career, do you prefer the acting or directing part of it?
I'm actually to the point where I prefer the directing. I prefer the producing, not being in control, just answering to myself. But this year, since, I got married a couple of years ago, we have 3 different homes. It got a little crazy. But this year, I'm actually getting out and auditioning again and directing a little bit more. So I'm just glad to be kind of getting back out in the community because I pulled back for a couple of years. So I'm going to see what I can get this year. Put myself out there.
And the reality I used to tell people is that a lot of actors who become directors, Corey, say they prefer directing because they don't tell the truth. They don't have to memorize the lines, in straight plays, not in straight theater, not
Yeah.
Reader's theater. But Corey, the same thing about you. So I know you acted, but I know you're moving into directing component as well. Is that where you want to move in the future as well?
I mean, I still love the art of acting. I mean, and building on the personal acting, experience, which every person's, if they're an actor, it's a very personal experience, like what you want to do, the things you want to do as an actor, and I'm still on that adventure as well. So yeah, I mean, that's a part of my life still. But the directing thing is something that I've done more film directing in my life for kind of the past 20 years and very little theater direction. So it's just kind of moving into that field that I've done more just as a theater actor. I've just never really spent a lot of time as a theater director. So as I get older, it's nice to do it a little bit.
And moving forward, after this course is over, Corey, you mentioned, I know you have one upcoming play again. Could you highlight that, what play is and where it is when they can see
The
you?
Chalk Garden, yeah,
Right.
it's the next Readers Theater Showcase show. So yeah, that'll be happening at Asheville Community Theaters 35 Below, the last weekend of January. So that's Friday and Saturday afternoons, and then they do Sunday afternoons at the Ollie Center or the Ollie Room at the Reuters Center at the UNCA campus.
And after that, you have anything else coming up that you can share?
Currently, no, not that I can share. Yeah, one thing just fell through that would have been nice to share, but yeah, that didn't happen. So
Okay.
we won't mention that, but
Nature of the career. And Mark,
yeah.
the same question. You have anything else that you're either going to be acting in or directing coming up?
Well, I have my own production company. So a Third Eye Productions I got to make sure I get the rights to it. We will probably do an enhanced reading of the Laramie Project 10 years later. So they
Oh,
go back 10 years later. And it's a completely separate play from the Laramie Project. It is a follow-up. And I think it has some strong implications of how we see the world right now and some of the things that are happening. I think I might also do a reading, abridged version of The Last Flapper. So that's Zelda Fitzgerald's life. So that would be a one-woman show. And I'm doing them as Readers Theater as a way to look at them and see, do I want to produce them?
interesting.
And fortunately, I am an assistant director with Taming of the Shrew, Jason Williams, this summer at Montfort. So we will be rehearsing all of June and performing all of July. And I don't know, we'll see. He tends to like to use directors and himself to like small parts and move props around and
Right.
everything. And, it's a good way of making sure the show goes the way you want it to go. So
And
that's going to be a new experience for me. That's a hard one to work that venue.
let me ask you both a question to wrap up. In terms of Mark specifically, if folks want to sign up for either your 3 weeks or Corey's 3 weeks or the rest of the course, where do they get information on that?
Oh, they just go to the ACT website. And when you go on the website, you hit education, and then it comes up all the workshops, all teenager stuff, but you look for Readers Theater Workshop, and then you go into that, and then you could tap on any one of the classes. Ellen Pappas is finishing up her class. Jim Reed, he starts his class 2/9, 2/16, and 2/23, again, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then we have March with Cory and April with me, and you can go right to where it's in blue print, and you just tap on it, and it helps you register. It's $45, which is $15 for each class. And if you're a member of the Autumn Players or want to become a member, which costs $10 for life, so it would be $45. And if you're a member or want to be a member, you'll get a $15 reduction. So you're really getting classes for $10 or $15, depending on your situation.
And if folks want to keep track of Mark Cameron, what you're doing or what you're going to be into, what's the best way to follow you?
Oh, they can just check A Third Eye, that's all. Or type in my name, MarcCameron Productions, and it'll come up.
Great, thank you. And Cory,
Thanks.
the same question. If folks want to track you as to what you're doing or what you're going to be into or moving into the
Yeah,
future, what's the best
there's
bet?
a website, yeah, CoryBoughton.com. You can Google search me. That'll bring up some stuff too. Usually the most recent links of projects that I'm working on.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for being my guests on this edition of the Blaine's World podcast, especially on
Thank
short
you.
notice. Also, hope to see you both on stage or doing something in the near future. And thank also my producer, Cappy Tassetti. And we'll see you sometime in the not too distant future, guys. Thank you a lot.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
Brian.
much, Blaine.
Appreciate you.